This is banned metaphysics, the forgotten science of identity, the forbidden current that ancient mystics guarded with silence and symbol. What you are about to hear is not manifestation, not attraction, not prayer, but the primal mechanism that bends reality itself to the frequency of who you are. Before the first word was spoken, before thought took shape, before galaxies unfurled their spiraling wings across the void, there existed one truth more potent than creation. Identity commands the universe, not personality, not belief, and not desire, and identity. The self you hold, quietly, unquestioned, beneath thought, issues the laws to which reality must obey. Your world does not respond to your affirmations or emotions first. It responds to your state of being, the silent signature you radiate with every breath. This is the knowledge that was hidden, suppressed, and buried under layers of mysticism. The universe is not listening to what you want, it is listening to who you are. Every chapter that follows is an unveiling of this forgotten technology, the metaphysical engine through which consciousness shapes existence with absolute fidelity. What was once locked behind temple doors now returns to you, not as instruction, but as remembrance. Prepare yourself. This is the forbidden identity technique, the ancient method through which the universe mirrors the truth you claim to be. Chapter 1. The Identity Frequency. In a forgotten valley where dawn arrived with the gentleness of a whispered prayer, an old hermit named Solon tended to a garden unlike any other. Travelers who passed through the valley would marvel at how his crops flourished even in seasons of drought, how the fruit trees bowed low with abundance long before other orchards awakened, and how flowers bloomed in colors unseen anywhere else in the known lands. Many believed Solon possessed secret techniques, enchanted seeds, sacred soil, celestial blessings. But the hermit carried a quiet smile, offering neither confirmation nor denial. One day, a curious seeker named Lyra approached him. "What power do you use?" she asked, breathless with urgency. "What spell, what prayer, what hidden method makes this land obey you?" Solon responded not with words, but with a gesture. He pointed not to the soil, nor the sky, nor the tools at his feet. Instead, he placed his hand upon his heart. "The land," he finally whispered, "grows according to who I am when I touch it." This truth, simple yet incomprehensible to the uninitiated, contained the essence of banned metaphysics, the ancient doctrine that reality bends not to desire, nor effort, nor ritual, but to identity. For the universe does not interpret your intentions as separate commands. It receives only the vibration of the self you hold as true. This is the law few dare to speak aloud. The universe obeys identity, always, instantly, without exception. Your life is not shaped by the thoughts you occasionally think, the affirmations you recite, or the visions you paint across your imagination. These are surface-level ripples. The true command lies far beneath, in the silent realm where you hold the unspoken truth of who you believe yourself to be. Identity is the foundational frequency, the primal tone from which all other vibrations emerge. Thought sits above it. Emotion responds to it. Behavior expresses it. But identity is the root from which all else grows. When Solon touched the earth, his hands did not instruct the soil to bloom. Instead, he touched it as one who belonged to abundance, as one already in communion with life's rhythm, as one whose identity harmonized with natural flourishing. The land had no choice but to respond. For in the universe's architecture, everything mirrors the self. Not the self you wish you were, not the self you say you are, not the self you try to become, but the self you quietly, unquestionably identify as, the self that stands before desire even arises. If a person identifies as unworthy, their desires for abundance are overridden. If a person identifies as unlucky, their affirmations for opportunity evaporate. If a person identifies as unseen, their prayers for recognition remain unanswered. Identity is the governing signature. Desire is merely an echo. Most people attempt to change their lives by manipulating the echo instead of transforming the source. They offer the universe their words while broadcasting a contradictory identity beneath the surface. Yet the universe responds with perfect precision every time, not through judgment, but through resonance. A beggar who affirms wealth but internalizes poverty will see only the identity's frequency reflected back. A lonely heart yearning for love while identifying as unlovable will find only mirrors that confirm the identity they hold. The universe is exquisitely obedient, but never to your requests, only to your being. This is why many spiritual seekers become frustrated. They do not realize that their identities are commanding the opposite of what their minds desire. Identity is the tuning fork. Reality is the resonant instrument. What you are is what your world must become. A story from the temples of the East tells of a young monk named Ren who struggled with feelings of inadequacy. No matter how devotedly he practiced, his teachers seemed to overlook him. He recited mantras of worthiness, he meditated on higher states, he fasted, purified, prayed, yet nothing changed. One night an elder monk summoned him. Without speaking, the elder placed a mirror before Ren. "What do you see?" the elder asked. Ren answered honestly. "I see a student, a novice, one who has not yet earned greatness." The elder closed Ren's eyes gently with his hand. "And what does the universe see?" Ren hesitated. "The same, I suppose." "That is your mistake," the elder said. "The universe does not see you through your effort. It sees you through your identity." The next morning, Ren rose with a different awareness. He no longer walked as a timid novice. He walked as one who belonged, one who understood that his place was already secured by the identity he embraced. Within weeks, everything changed. His teachers noticed him. His growth accelerated. Opportunities appeared as if from thin air. Nothing outside him changed. It was his internal identity that rewrote the path before him. This is the banned metaphysical truth countless traditions once concealed. Identity precedes manifestation. Identity commands manifestation. Identity calibrates manifestation. To change your world, you must not demand more from the universe. You must become the self to whom that world naturally responds. This is the alchemy of being, to embody the truth first so that reality can echo it. Ancient practice, the identity pulse. Sit in stillness. Place your hand upon your heart and whisper the identity you choose, not as an aspiration, but as a declaration. I am the one for whom this reality is already true. Do not imagine, do not hope, do not strive. Feel the identity settle not in the mind, but in the silent field beneath thought. This is the command the universe obeys. This is the beginning of becoming. Chapter 2. The Mirror of the Unseen Self. In a small coastal town where the sea's breath drifted through open windows and lantern light danced across the water at dusk, lived a woman named Elara, who possessed every spiritual tool imaginable. Her cottage was filled with affirmations written on parchment, vision boards laden with vibrant images, crystals gathered from distant lands, and journals overflowing with intention. Yet despite all her devotion, her life remained stubbornly unchanged. She prayed for abundance, yet lived in scarcity. She envisioned love, yet walked alone by moonlit shores. She declared confidence, yet trembled when speaking her truth. Elara believed she was doing everything right, yet her world reflected only fragments of the life she sought. Each night she would kneel before her candlelit altar and whisper, "Why does nothing change?" One evening, as waves crashed rhythmically upon the rocks, an old fisherman named Ivar approached her during her nightly walk. He had watched her struggle for years, his weathered eyes carrying the patience of someone who understood the tides of existence more deeply than most. "Elara," he said gently, "may I show you something?" He led her to a hidden cove where the sea formed a perfectly still pool in the center of the rocks. The moon cast its pale glow upon the water, forming a pristine, shimmering mirror. "Look into the pool," Ivar instructed. Elara gazed at her reflection, expecting nothing unusual. "What do you see?" he asked. "Myself," she answered. "No," Ivar said softly. "You see your appearance, not the self the world responds to." He dipped his finger into the water. The ripples distorted her reflection. "This is the self you believe yourself to be, unstable, uncertain, changing with every wave of thought. Then he stepped back, allowing the water to become still once more. "And this," he whispered, "is the self the universe listens to, the identity beneath the mind, the one that speaks in silence." A profound stillness washed through Elara. She realized she had been shouting her desires into the universe while whispering a completely different identity beneath them. Her surface self spoke abundance. Her deep identity murmured lack. Her mouth declared love. Her inner being whispered unworthiness. This is the mirror of the unseen self, the subtle yet dominant identity that reality reflects with unwavering precision. For the universe is deaf to contradictions in speech, yet flawlessly attuned to the vibration of identity. The unseen self is not formed by conscious intention. It is sculpted by repetition, memory, emotional residue, unexamined beliefs, and the story one quietly believes about oneself. This identity becomes the blueprint through which the world organizes itself. Elara realized she had been working tirelessly to change her reflection, not the face behind it. She had attempted to sculpt the world without ever sculpting the self the world was mirroring. This is the great misunderstanding among seekers. Reality does not respond to the identity we present. Reality responds to the identity we embody. A man may present confidence, but if he identifies as inadequate beneath the surface, the world reacts to his hidden frequency. A woman may declare abundance, but if she identifies as lacking, the world ensures her outer conditions match her inner truth. A seeker may meditate for hours, yet if they identify as someone who must heal before they can receive, they anchor themselves eternally in the role of the unfulfilled. Identity is the script, reality is the stage. The universe is the perfect actor performing the lines you give it, whether consciously or unconsciously. In the mountain monasteries of the north, a story is told of twins named Dari and Liron. They were identical in appearance, equally gifted, equally diligent. Yet while Dari flourished, Liron struggled. When asked why, the master replied, "Dari believes he belongs. Liron believes he must earn belonging. The universe answers them accordingly." Belonging was not granted to Dari by external merit. It was reflected back because he identified as one who already belonged. The universe does not respond to effort. It responds to identity. Elara returned home that night with a new understanding. She sat before her altar, but instead of affirming, she listened. Instead of visualizing, she observed. She asked herself the most important question of her life. Who do I believe myself to be when no one is looking? The answer struck her with disarming clarity. She believed herself to be someone who tried to manifest, not someone for whom reality naturally rearranged. Someone who hoped for change, not someone whose identity commanded it. She realized she had been acting from separation, reaching toward a reality she did not identify as hers. And so, for the first time, she stopped trying. She stopped asking. She stopped performing spiritual rituals as if they were levers to pull. Instead, she began assuming the identity of the one who already lived the reality she desired. Not through imagination, but through embodiment, through quiet, undeniable being. She walked differently the next morning. She moved with the certainty of someone who no longer begged reality to shift, but expected her world to mirror her identity. She no longer looked for signs. Her life itself became the sign. Within weeks, her circumstances changed effortlessly. Opportunities appeared without effort. Relationships blossomed without force. Abundance flowed without strain. The mirror had changed because the one standing before it had become someone new. Ancient practice, the still mirror. Find a reflective surface, a mirror, a pool of water, a window at dusk. Stand before it without speaking, without affirming, without wishing. Look into your reflection and ask silently, what identity is my world currently obeying? Do not judge the answer. Simply acknowledge it. Then gently whisper, I choose the identity my future already recognizes. Let your reflection become a portal, not to who you have been, but to who you now allow yourself to be. Chapter 3. The Law of Identity Supremacy. In the hidden chambers of an ancient library carved beneath desert stone, scrolls older than recorded memory were said to whisper truths only the brave dared seek. One such scroll, weathered by time yet pulsing with a strange luminous energy, contained a single declaration. Identity reigns above all laws, not the law of attraction, not the law of assumption, not the law of action. Identity supersedes them all. This truth was so potent, so disruptive to the structures of power, that the scroll was concealed in the deepest vault, protected by guardians who understood that humanity was not ready to wield such a force. For if the masses ever realized that the universe responds not to effort but to identity, not to prayer but to being, the entire paradigm of struggle would collapse instantly. Yet now, as consciousness awakens, this forbidden truth rises again. The law of identity supremacy states, reality does not follow your desires, it follows your identity. The identity you claim, knowingly or unknowingly, is the master key the universe obeys. Imagine a queen and a servant walking into a great hall. Neither must speak, neither must announce their title. Without a word, every being in that hall turns their attention toward the queen. Respect follows her like a shadow. Doors open at her approach. She is not treated royally because she demands it. She is treated royally because she is it. Her identity speaks louder than her voice. So it is with you. One who is wealthy in identity receives wealth. One who is loved in identity receives love. One who is chosen in identity receives alignment. One who is healed in identity experiences healing. Identity is not a wish. It is not a hopeful imagining. It is the energetic template the universe recognizes as truth. To understand this law, you must first understand the ancient concept of energetic sovereignty. A person who identifies as powerless may use every spiritual tool available, affirmations, rituals, visualization, and still struggle, for their deeper identity overrides all their efforts. They may speak abundance, yet life mirrors poverty. They may chase love, yet life reflects emptiness. Why? Because identity is the throne from which all other vibrations are commanded. When identity contradicts desire, identity always wins. A tale preserved in the monasteries of the East illustrates this with crystalline clarity. There was once a young monk named Arin who dreamed of becoming a healer. He studied herbs, prayers, mantras, and sacred rituals. His knowledge surpassed even the elders. Yet when villagers sought healing, it was not Arin they approached. It was a simple, humble monk named Koa, who possessed no formal training. One day, Arin confronted Koa, frustrated and confused. "How is it that they come to you?" Arin asked. "My knowledge is greater. My practice is disciplined. My training is complete." Koa looked at him with gentle eyes. "You studied to become a healer," he said. "I simply am one. Your identity strives. Mine is." And with those words, the truth struck Arin's heart like lightning. Identity requires no proving, it requires no mastery, it requires no effort, it simply is, and the universe recognizes it without hesitation. Think of identity as the root system of a mighty tree. Desire is the fruit, action is the branch, emotion is the leaf. But identity is the root, invisible beneath the soil, holding the entire structure in place. You cannot change the fruit by polishing it. You cannot change the leaves by painting them. You must change the roots, the identity, for the tree to bear new fruit. Identity does not ask the universe. Identity instructs it. This is why those who believe they must become worthy remain unworthy in their own eyes. Why those who identify as seekers never arrive at the truth. Why those who identify as broken continue attracting circumstances that affirm their brokenness. Identity is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not because you are manifesting incorrectly, but because the universe mirrors the identity you embody beneath all thought. To activate the law of identity supremacy, one must practice identity acceptance, not identity striving. This requires the courage to release the familiar self, the one built on past wounds and conditioned limitations. In the city of Kashar once lived a master sculptor named Zephra. She had crafted statues so lifelike that kings journeyed from distant lands to behold them. When asked the secret of her brilliance, she would say, "I do not sculpt stone. I reveal what is already inside." Identity works the same way. You are not creating a new version of yourself. You are revealing the self that already exists beneath layers of forgetting. Identity is remembering, not becoming. This is why the universe responds immediately when identity shifts. It recognizes the truth you reclaim, not the truth you manufacture. The law of identity supremacy is not about pretending. It is about aligning with the version of you that already lives in the quantum field, already recognized by the universe, already treated as complete. To wield this law is to declare, I am the identity that reality must obey. Not through arrogance, but through remembrance. For your identity is not adopted, it is revealed. Sacred practice, the throne of being. Sit in stillness, close your eyes, place your awareness behind your heart, whisper silently, I sit upon the throne of my true identity. Then choose the identity you claim, not as a hope, but as a decree. Feel the world rearrange around this truth, for identity does not request, it commands. Chapter 4. Becoming the version who already has it. In a village cradled between emerald hills and silver streams, lived a young woman named Mira who spent her days longing for a life far greater than the one she knew. She would watch travelers pass through the marketplace wearing fine clothes, carrying treasures from distant lands, speaking of adventures that stirred her spirit. Mira wished for such a life, prayed for it, imagined it, pleaded for it. Yet her world never changed. One afternoon, as Mira wandered beyond the edge of the village, she encountered an elderly wanderer resting beneath a towering cedar tree. He wore no fine robes, yet his presence carried a quiet authority that needed no adornment. His eyes sparkled like someone who had walked through many lifetimes. Mira bowed respectfully and asked, How does one receive the life they dream of? Why does desire not bring what the heart longs for? The wanderer smiled gently. Because desire belongs to the one who does not yet have. Creation belongs to the one who already is. Mira frowned, unsure of his meaning. The wanderer motioned for her to sit beside him. There are two versions of you, he said, the one who wants and the one who has. Most people spend their lives strengthening the wanting version, not realizing that wanting sustains the absence of what they seek. He drew a circle in the dirt. This is the seeker, he said, always yearning. He drew a second circle. This is the receiver, the one who already is. The universe, he whispered, responds only to the second. This teaching echoed a truth preserved by mystics for centuries. To receive what you desire, you must become the version of yourself who already has it, before it appears. Not through imagination alone, not through affirmations alone, but through identity, through the silent shift in being that precedes all physical change. Mira listened as the wanderer told a story from a distant land. There was once a prince who lived in a kingdom shrouded in fog. Although he was heir to the throne, he believed himself unworthy. As long as he identified as someone incomplete, the kingdom reflected his uncertainty. Crooked roads, failing crops, restless citizens. One day, the prince met a sage who said, The kingdom does not wait for the king to act. It responds when the king arrives within himself. The prince realized he was waiting for the kingdom to reflect his royalty before he felt royal. But life mirrors identity, not desire. He stepped into the identity of king, not by speaking it, but by being it. His posture changed, his tone changed. His decisions came from clarity, not fear. And as the prince changed, the kingdom transformed around him. Nothing external caused his rise. The identity shift caused the kingdom to align. Mira understood the parable. She had been waiting for evidence before embodying the version of herself who had the life she dreamed of. She mistook becoming for achieving. She waited for proof before inhabiting the identity that produced the proof. The wanderer leaned toward her and said, You cannot wait for the world to confirm your identity. The world waits for you to claim it. This principle is the essence of identity-based creation. Most people live reactively, letting their circumstances define their identity. But the metaphysical truth is the opposite. Identity defines circumstance. To become the version who already has it, you must shift from the state of wanting into the state of being. Being is the source of manifestation. Being is the architect of alignment. Being is the vibrational birthplace of reality. When Mira returned to the village, she was different, though nothing in her appearance had changed. Something in her essence shifted. The way she walked, the quiet confidence in her eyes, the calm certainty in her movements. She no longer wished. She no longer yearned. She no longer leaned toward the future with desperation. She moved as one who already possessed the life she desired, not in pretense, but in identity. Within weeks, opportunities found her. Travelers invited her on journeys. Merchants offered her apprenticeships. Doors that had been closed without explanation now opened effortlessly. She had not chased her dreams. She had become the version to whom the dream naturally belonged. The universe did what it always does. It obeyed her identity. In the hidden temples of the North, monks teach that every timeline, every possibility, every version of oneself already exists in the quantum field. Manifestation is not creation. It is selection. You align with the version of you who already lives the reality you desire, and the universe matches your identity. This is why pretending does not work. Pretending is rooted in lack, in the belief that you are not what you wish to be. But becoming, true becoming, requires stepping into the identity with no expectation, no fear, no doubt, no craving, simply being. Becoming is presence. Becoming is alignment. Becoming is truth. And the truth is always reflected through reality. Sacred practice, the embodiment shift. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Imagine the version of yourself who already has what you desire, not as fantasy but as reality. Now, release the image and become them. Adopt their posture, their breath, their tone, their pace. Do not visualize their life. Be the one who lives it. Hold this identity not with strain, but with certainty. Let the universe respond, for it must. Chapter 5. The Invisible Signature. In a vast kingdom where dawn spilled gold across the marble streets and night draped everything in silent velvet, lived a scribe named Kalen, whose gift was unlike any other. He possessed the uncanny ability to read what he called the invisible signature, a subtle vibration that emanated from every person, object, and moment. While others read words on parchment, he read the identity beneath a being's surface, the energetic name the universe recognized before anything else. When travelers approached the palace, Kalen would sit quietly beneath the archway, watching each passer-by with tranquil eyes. Some walked with confidence, though wearing tattered robes. Others strutted with wealth, yet trembled beneath the weight of unseen doubt. Kalen had learned long ago that the universe did not listen to titles, clothing, or proclamations. It responded only to a person's signature of being, the vibration engraved in the subtle realm. The villagers often asked him, "How do you know who will rise and who will fall, who will prosper and who will struggle?" Kalen would simply reply, "The universe sees what they are, not what they say they are." This sacred understanding forms the foundation of reality. Your invisible signature, the identity you embody beneath thought, is the command your world obeys. You carry this signature everywhere you go. It enters the room before you speak. It echoes long after you leave. It shapes how others perceive you, how circumstances align with you, and how opportunities flow toward or away from you. Your signature is not your name, nor your appearance, nor your possessions. It is the vibration of your self-concept, the identity you quietly accept as true. Most people never meet their true signature. They meet only their fears, their memories, their wounds, or the narratives handed to them by others. Yet the universe reads the signature directly, bypassing all disguises. One night, a desperate nobleman sought out Kalen. His wealth was immense, his estate vast, yet misfortune plagued him like an unrelenting shadow. "Tell me," the nobleman pleaded, "why does life strip me of everything I try to hold? Why does every investment crumble, every ally betray me, every opportunity slip through my fingers?" Kalen motioned for him to sit. "Because your invisible signature screams fear," he said gently. "You walk through the world as if terrified of losing what you have. And so life mirrors this signature by taking from you." The nobleman's eyes widened. He had believed himself confident, intentional, commanding. But beneath his armor of bravado lay the identity of a frightened child, clinging to what he feared he did not deserve. Kalin placed a hand upon the nobleman's chest. "The universe does not respond to your declarations of greatness," he whispered. "It responds to the trembling beneath them." This was the nobleman's awakening. Your invisible signature cannot be hidden. It cannot be disguised. It cannot be faked. You can speak words of abundance while radiating lack. You can affirm love while embodying unworthiness. You can imagine prosperity while vibrating scarcity. The universe hears not your mouth, but your essence. A story from the southern desert tells of a merchant named Sirah, who became known across the sands for attracting wealth wherever she traveled. When bandits raided caravans, her goods remained untouched. When markets struggled, her stall thrived. She did not fear loss, nor did she chase gain. One day an apprentice asked her, "What spell do you cast? What charm protects you?" Sirah smiled. "I carry no spell. I am the spell." Her invisible signature was abundance itself, calm, open, assured. She did not try to attract wealth. Wealth recognized her identity and circled her like planets orbiting the sun. Identity does not seek. Identity receives. The invisible signature is the language of the universe. It communicates your truest state of being without effort, without words, without conscious intention. To change your signature, you must change the truth you carry about yourself. Not what you wish to believe, not what you try to believe, but what you allow yourself to accept as real. Your signature rewrites the script of your reality. When your signature shifts, all things shift with it. Relationships, money, health, opportunities, even the thoughts that appear in your mind. For thoughts do not shape identity. Identity shapes thought. This is the opposite of what many believe. People strive to think better thoughts, hoping their identity will follow. But identity is the root from which thoughts grow, not the other way around. If you identify as lacking, your mind produces thoughts of lack. If you identify as chosen, your mind produces thoughts of worth. If you identify as powerful, your mind produces thoughts of confidence. Identity writes the symphony. Thoughts play the notes. This is the metaphysical secret the ancients guarded fiercely. For with great clarity comes great responsibility. Once you understand that your invisible signature shapes all reality, you can no longer claim victimhood. You can no longer attribute your world to luck, fate, or circumstance. Your signature is the author. Your life is the manuscript. To transform your world, you must step into a new signature, not through force, but through acceptance. Sacred practice, the signature of being. Sit in silence. Place your hand over your chest. Ask yourself, what is the identity I silently carry into every moment? Do not judge the answer. From a deeper place, whisper, I allow my signature to align with the highest version of me. Feel the shift, subtle, potent, undeniable. This new signature is the command the universe will obey. Chapter 6. The World as Your Echo. In a serene mountain village where clouds drifted low enough to touch and the wind carried secrets from the ancient world, lived a boy named Ren who believed life conspired against him. Wherever he went, misfortune seemed to follow. If he sought friendship, he met rejection. If he attempted boldness, he encountered failure. If he dreamt of greatness, life crushed his hopes before they could bloom. One autumn evening, weary from disappointment, Ren wandered into the forest. The sky glowed amber as the sun dipped behind the peaks, and the air shimmered with the soft hum of nature's breath. He came upon an old cave, quiet, mysterious, and echoing faintly with distant whispers. Curious, he stepped inside and shouted, "Why does nothing go my way?" His voice bounced through the cavern. "Why does nothing go my way? Nothing go my way on my way." Annoyed, he called, "Stop mocking me." The cave replied, "Stop mocking me, mocking me." Ren's frustration boiled over. He shouted insults, curses, cries of anger, and each one returned to him, magnified. "Why are you so cruel?" he finally whispered. And from the darkness came his own trembling voice. "Why are you so cruel, cruel?" He fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the harshness of the echoes. Suddenly, a lantern flickered in the corner. An elderly wanderer emerged from the shadows, his steps steady, his gaze soft. "You think the cave mocks you?" the wanderer asked. "Yes," Ren said bitterly. "It throws my pain back at me." The wanderer knelt beside him. "The cave is not your tormentor," he whispered. "It is your teacher. It returns only what you give. The world is no different." Ren's breath caught. "The world is your echo," the wanderer continued. "It responds to your identity, your beliefs, your fears, your truth. It cannot give you what you do not radiate." This is one of the most powerful metaphysical laws. Reality is not separate from you. It is shaped by you. Your world is a perfect echo of who you believe yourself to be. Your echo does not lie. It does not judge. It does not favor or punish. It reflects. Your relationships echo your self-worth. Your finances echo your belief in abundance. Your opportunities echo your openness to receiving. Your health echoes your inner harmony. You cannot receive love while embodying abandonment. You cannot receive abundance while vibrating scarcity. You cannot receive respect while identifying as small. The world answers only to your identity and echoes it with astonishing precision. A lone traveler once wandered through the capital city, overwhelmed by its grandeur. He visited the marketplace, but shopkeepers ignored him. He visited the gardens, yet no one greeted him. He sought friendship, yet people passed as if he were invisible. Distraught, he approached a wise woman who sat weaving garments beneath an olive tree. "Why does this city treat me so coldly?" he asked. The woman looked up with compassionate eyes. "Because you walk as one who does not believe he belongs here," she said. "The world is not rejecting you, it is echoing your identity." The traveler realized that while he admired the city, he felt unworthy of it. He carried the identity of an outsider, and so the city reflected this identity perfectly. When he shifted into belonging, quiet, subtle, internal, he returned to the marketplace. This time merchants greeted him warmly. Children waved. A stranger offered him bread. Nothing in the city had changed, only the echo. Identity always precedes reflection. When you change your internal tone, the world cannot help but change its response. Yet many attempt to force the echo, changing circumstances, seeking validation, manipulating outcomes, without changing the vibration that creates them. This is like shouting into the cave, "Stop echoing my anger," while continuing to shout in anger. The echo cannot be corrected, only the source can. A man who identifies as unchosen will attract situations that affirm his belief, not because life is cruel, but because the echo is honest. A woman who identifies as capable will find opportunities aligning without effort, not because she is favored, but because her echo vibrates coherence. The world is not personal, the world is precise. It reflects who you are, not what you wish to be. To transform your life, you must adjust the source, the identity, not the echo. The wanderer in the cave placed a hand on Ren's shoulder. "Speak softly," he said. "Speak gently. Speak lovingly. Watch what returns to you." Ren whispered, "I am enough." And the cave answered, "I am enough, enough, enough." Tears welled in his eyes as centuries of misunderstanding melted away. This is the moment all seekers eventually meet. The moment they realize their world has never been against them. It has been reflecting them. And reflection is the most compassionate teacher of all. Sacred practice, the echo ritual. Empty a room of noise, stand in the center, close your eyes. Say one sentence aloud, not a desire but an identity. I am the one life responds to with favor. Listen internally. Feel how your world begins rearranging itself in response to this tone. You have changed the echo by changing the source. Chapter 7. The Parable of the Two Masks. In a bustling ancient city where lanterns glowed like floating suns and crowded marketplaces hummed with the heartbeat of human desire, there lived a young performer named Elion. His performances drew crowds from distant kingdoms, not because he was the most skilled, but because he possessed an uncanny gift for becoming whatever character he portrayed. When he stepped onto the stage, people forgot he was acting. His embodiment was complete, seamless, effortless. Yet beneath his mastery lay a torment Elion told no one about. Every night, after removing the masks and costumes, he felt hollow. Despite the applause, despite the admiration, despite the countless roles he executed flawlessly, he felt invisible to himself. He could become anyone except himself. One night, after the show, the theatre master approached him with 2 ancient masks carved from obsidian and ivory. The master's eyes were older than time itself, shimmering with memories untouched by decay. "These," the master said, holding the masks out, "were crafted by a forgotten culture. One reveals, one conceals. Wear each, and you will know the difference." Elion raised the ivory mask, ornate with delicate etchings of beasts and stars. "The mask of pretending," the master whispered. Elion placed it over his face. Instantly, he felt a surge of energy, confidence, charisma, charm. He could feel himself speaking, moving, existing as a version of himself he admired. But beneath the surface rose a subtle unease. The mask granted him a persona, yet he sensed the universe did not believe this persona. It recognized the pretense. It heard the contradiction beneath the show. "This," the master said, "is how most people try to manifest. They pretend to be something they do not identify as. They create a performance, not an identity." Elion removed the ivory mask. The master held out the obsidian mask next, dark, simple, smooth, like still water. "The mask of embodiment." Elion placed it over his face. He expected another rush of power, another illusion of confidence, but instead, he felt nothing. No theatrics, no inflated emotion, no surge of false courage, only stillness. Yet this stillness was not emptiness. It was a profound sense of recognition, as if the mask wasn't covering him, but revealing him, as if it were not a mask at all, but a mirror. Elion could feel the shift in the very air around him. Something unseen acknowledged him, responded to him, as though this state of being aligned perfectly with reality's deepest truth. "What is this feeling?" Elion asked, breathless. "Identity," the master said. "Not performance, not pretending, being." The master explained that when a person pretends, their internal frequency contradicts their external expression. The universe hears this discord and mirrors the underlying identity, not the persona worn on top. A beggar may pretend to be wealthy, but if his identity whispers lack, life echoes lack. A lonely person may pretend confidence, but if their identity whispers unworthiness, life echoes the emptiness. A dreamer may pretend success, but if they identify as one who always reaches but never receives, life continues to mirror that story. Pretending is brittle. It collapses under reality's touch. But embodiment, the obsidian mask, requires no effort. It is quiet, steady, grounded. It emits a frequency the universe instantly recognizes. Embodiment is not performance, and embodiment is identity lived without strain. To embody abundance is not to shout affirmations or display grand gestures. It is the natural breath of someone who knows abundance as their native home. To embody love is not to chase affection or craft perfect words. It is the calm certainty of one who knows themselves worthy. To embody confidence is not to inflate the ego. It is the relaxed presence of someone who remembers their truth. The master guided Elion to an inner chamber beneath the theatre, a room lit only by a single candle. Shadows danced along the walls like forgotten spirits. "Elion," he said softly, "every human wears masks, but few understand that masks are not inherently false. The question is not whether you wear a mask, but whether the mask reflects your identity or conceals it." He pointed to the ivory mask. "Pretending is a declaration of lack. It says, 'I am not yet what I wish to be.'" He pointed to the obsidian mask. "Embodiment is a declaration of truth. It says, 'I already am.'" Elion understood then why all his spiritual efforts had failed. He had been performing worthiness, performing belief, performing confidence. But the universe does not answer performances. It answers identity. He realized that the roles he played on stage felt powerful because he embodied them fully. There was no contradiction. For the length of the act, he became the character without hesitation or doubt. What if, Elion whispered, I lived my desires the way I live my roles? The master smiled. That is the beginning of creation. In the days that followed, Elion changed, not in appearance, but in presence. He no longer forced his confidence. He no longer tried to imitate success. Instead, he moved as one who had nothing to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to justify. He wore the obsidian mask within. When he stepped onto the stage again, something extraordinary happened. The audience fell silent, not in awe, but in reverence. They sensed not a performance, but truth radiating from him. And beyond the stage, life shifted too. Doors opened, mentors appeared. Opportunities arose spontaneously, not because Elion acted as someone worthy, but because he became someone worthy. Identity is effortless, pretending is exhausting. Identity commands, pretending pleads. Identity attracts, pretending repels. Your task is not to imitate the version of you who has what you want. Your task is to be them, quietly, naturally, without theatrics. Sacred practice, the embodiment mirror. Stand before a mirror in silence. Do not pose, do not pretend, do not imitate. Simply ask, what is the identity that already lives my desired reality? Let your posture shift, let your breath shift, let your presence shift, let your being shift, not through performance, but through recognition. For the universe responds only to the mask that reveals, never the one that conceals. Chapter 8. The Physics of Self-Declaration. In a remote monastery built into the cliffs above the Sapphire Sea, a tradition older than scripture was practiced in secret. At dawn each morning, monks gathered in a stone chamber carved so precisely that even whispers reverberated like thunder. The ritual was simple. Each monk would speak 2 words aloud. I am. Yet these words were not uttered casually. They were spoken with reverence, precision, and intent. For the monks understood that these 2 words were not mere language, but the most powerful technology in existence. I am was the original declaration from which all identity arose. I am was the spark that ignited consciousness into form. I am was the root frequency through which the universe understood the self. The elder monk, Master Vale, taught that every statement following I am becomes a command to reality, not metaphorically, energetically. I am is the tuning fork of identity. What follows shapes the echo of existence. One morning, a young monk named Saran approached Master Vale with frustration. I have spoken abundance, yet I remain in lack. I have declared love, yet loneliness follows me like a shadow. Master Vale placed a cup before him, empty and unadorned. What is this? The master asked. A cup, Saran replied. And if this cup declared, I am full, would water appear? Saran shook his head. No, Master Vale said, because the cup's nature does not yet match the declaration. He lifted the cup. Declarations are not magic, they are instructions. But instructions cannot override identity, they can only amplify it. Saran felt his chest tighten. Then what must I do? Master Vale turned the cup upside down. When the identity changes, the declaration becomes truth. This is the foundational principle of metaphysical physics. Self-declaration activates reality, but only when aligned with identity. If you declare I am wealthy while identifying as poor, the declaration clashes with your frequency. If you declare I am loved while identifying as unworthy, the declaration collapses. If you declare I am powerful while identifying as small, the declaration dissipates. The universe responds not to the declaration alone, but to the energy behind it. Declarations are like keys. Identity is the lock. If the key does not match the lock, nothing opens. Master Vale explained that the phrase I am carries the vibration of creation itself. Every identity begins with it. Every manifestation is downstream of it. Every reality is sculpted by it. But the power of I am is neutral. It amplifies whatever follows, whether empowering or destructive. A man who mutters I am tired strengthens exhaustion. A woman who sighs I am unlucky deepens misfortune. A seeker who laments I am trying perpetuates a state of perpetual effort. Most people unknowingly sabotage their reality by attaching limiting truths to I am with casual abandon. In a nearby coastal village, a fisherman named Oren lived in scarcity despite working tirelessly. Each morning he rose before the sun, cast his nets, and returned with little. Villagers pitied him and called him cursed. One day, a wanderer visited Oren's boat and asked, "What do you call yourself?" "A poor fisherman," Oren replied. The wanderer nodded. "And so you are," he said simply, and walked away. That night, as Oren lay awake, he repeated the phrase in his mind, "A poor fisherman, a poor fisherman." He realized the universe had obeyed his declaration with absolute precision. The next morning, Oren changed his words. He did not leap to "I am prosperous," for the identity was too far from his current state. Instead, he whispered, "I am becoming favored by the sea." This declaration aligned with a believable identity. His body relaxed into it. His spirit recognized it. His frequency rose softly, not with strain, but with truth. In the weeks that followed, Oren's catches grew. The sea seemed to respond to his presence with increasing generosity. He adjusted his declaration as his identity strengthened. "I am capable. I am fortunate. I am favored." Until one morning, he declared without hesitation, "I am prosperous." And the sea obeyed. Declarations are not incantations. They are identity stabilizers. When used correctly, they solidify the vibration of a chosen self, anchoring it into the quantum field until reality reorganizes around it. When misused, they become empty words, disconnected from being, weakened by contradiction. Master Weil taught that the physics of self-declaration rests on 3 principles. 1. Declaration without identity is noise. 2. Declaration aligned with identity is law. 3. Consistent declaration shapes identity. Thus, identity and declaration form a loop, each strengthening the other, until the universe has no choice but to mirror the new truth. Saran practiced in the stone chamber daily. At first, his declarations felt hollow, but as he shifted his identity, quietly, subtly, gently, his words gained weight. They rooted into him like ancient trees finding soil. One morning, when he uttered, "I am abundance," the chamber vibrated, as if reality itself acknowledged him. For the universe always responds to truth, and identity makes it true. Sacred practice, the I am resonance. Sit with eyes closed. Place both hands upon your chest. Speak only one declaration today. Not one you hope for, not one you pretend, but one aligned with the identity you are stepping into. Speak it once, slowly, deliberately. Then feel the universe respond, not to the sound of your voice, but to the vibration of your being. Chapter 9. The Identity Override Technique. In a secluded monastery, perched atop cliffs brushed by clouds, there existed a single manuscript locked behind obsidian doors. Monks called it the Book of Becoming, a forbidden text whispered about but seldom seen. It contained the most powerful metaphysical teaching ever known. The method by which one could bypass all resistance, all delay, all self-doubt, and step directly into a new reality. It was called the Identity Override Technique. Legend told of a young initiate named Kale who traveled across 6 kingdoms to access the manuscript. He had exhausted every known technique, affirmations, rituals, prayers, visualizations, but each time he tried to shift his life, unseen forces pulled him back into the gravity of his old self. He believed something was wrong with him. He believed he lacked discipline. He believed his destiny was fixed. But when he finally reached the monastery, an ancient monk greeted him, not with reverence, but with a question. "Why do you try so hard to become what you already are?" Kale frowned, confused. "If I already am it, why do I not experience it?" The monk motioned for Kale to follow. They walked into a chamber lined with mirrors, some polished, some cracked, some reflecting Kale as he was, others distorting him into grotesque or radiant versions. "This," the monk whispered, "is your mind." He pointed to a polished mirror. "This is who you believe you are now." He pointed to a radiant mirror bathed in golden light. "This is who you desire to become." Then the monk placed a shroud over both mirrors. Identity override is the art of removing the mirrors entirely. Cale felt a chill run through him. The monk continued, "You have been trying to change your reflection, but reflections come from identity, not effort. The identity override technique bypasses reflection and rewrites the source." This was the secret the world had forgotten. You do not change your life by changing your circumstances. You change your life by overriding the identity that created them. The technique is deceptively simple. Identify the version of you who already has what you desire. Not as fantasy, not as hope, but as a real being existing in a parallel truth. Shift into that identity instantly, without convincing, without earning, without waiting. Not gradually, not through steps, not through healing old stories. Instantly. Embodied the new identity as if no older version of you ever existed. No transition, no bridge, no in-between. This third step is the key, the part few dare attempt. It requires abandoning the familiar, comfortable self entirely. Most people fail to manifest because they cling, subconsciously, emotionally, energetically, to the identity they are trying to escape. But the identity override technique severs that attachment with a single decision. The old identity becomes irrelevant. The new identity becomes your truth. The universe obeys the new identity immediately. The monk demonstrated by lighting 2 candles. One flame flickered weakly. The other burned strong and steady. "Most humans," he said, "try to carry the weak flame while reaching for the strong one. But you cannot serve 2 fires." He blew out the dim flame. The chamber darkened except for the single, unwavering light. Identity override is choosing the flame that is true and extinguishing the one that is not. Cale trembled. "But how do I extinguish the old identity?" The monk smiled. "Stop feeding it. Identity is fed through attention, memory, repetition, emotional attachment, self-concepts, stories, conversations, reactions, familiar choices. When you cease feeding an identity, it dies quickly. Identity override is therefore not becoming someone new, but ceasing to be the version who struggled. Just as the caterpillar does not improve itself into a butterfly, it dissolves the old form so completely that a new one emerges. The universe does not require transition, only decision. The monks allowed Cale to study the manuscript for 1 night. He spent hours shaking, crying, realizing he had been trying to do the impossible, be both his past and his future simultaneously. Finally, as dawn broke, he stood before the mirrors again. He gazed at his familiar reflection one last time. Then he whispered, "I release you," and turned away. From that moment on, he did not behave like Cale who seeks. He behaved like Cale who is. He walked differently, breath flowed differently, thoughts changed, choices shifted, his world reorganized, not slowly, instantly. When he returned to the kingdoms he once traveled through, people hardly recognized him, not because his appearance changed, but because his essence radiated a new signature. Doors opened before he knocked. Opportunities found him without search. Challenges dissolved before they formed. This was the power of the identity override technique. It bypasses all limitation by replacing the self that was limited, and this truth echoes eternally. You cannot receive a reality that does not belong to your identity. But when you shift your identity, the new reality becomes inevitable. Sacred practice, the identity severance ritual. Stand alone in a quiet room, close your eyes. Say aloud, not softly but with certainty, "The version of me who struggled is no longer needed." Then breathe deeply. With each exhale, imagine releasing memories, behaviors, beliefs tied to the old identity. Finally whisper, "I inhabit only the identity my future recognizes." Feel the shift, feel the override, feel the universe reconfiguring itself around your new self. For once identity changes, everything must change with it. Chapter 10. Reality as the echo of self-relation. In a gentle valley where wildflowers swayed as though listening to ancient songs, lived a woman named Marianne who offered counsel to wanderers seeking clarity. She was neither healer nor sage, yet people traveled from distant lands for her guidance. Her secret was simple but profound. She understood that reality is nothing but the echo of how one relates to oneself. Marianne carried a mirror made not of glass, but of polished silver. This mirror did not reflect a person's face. It reflected the state of their relationship with themselves. When a traveler gazed into it, they did not see features or flaws. They saw their self-concept made visible. One day, a warrior approached Marianne heavy with doubt. Despite countless victories, he felt unworthy of admiration. When he looked into the silver mirror, he gasped. His reflection showed a trembling figure hiding behind a shield. "This cannot be me," the warrior whispered. "This is how you see yourself," Marianne replied, "and your world echoes it." He fell to his knees. "How do I change it?" "Not through achievement," she said gently, "but through identity." The warrior realized that no amount of external validation would shift his world until his self-relation changed. Reality, Marianne taught, is not the world around you. It is the world responding to you. The universe does not treat you as you hope to be treated. It treats you as you treat yourself. Every relationship you have, from romance to friendship to opportunity, is a vibrational reflection of your internal relationship with your own being. If you dismiss your needs, life dismisses your desires. If you silence your voice, life silences your impact. If you undermine your worth, life delivers people who do the same. If you abandon yourself, life gives situations that abandon you. Marianne told the warrior a story passed through her lineage. There once were two sisters, Ara and Solon. Ara believed she was a burden. Solon believed she was a blessing. Though they lived in the same home, walked the same roads, and met the same people, their lives unfolded in opposite directions. Ara's relationships were strained. Solon's relationships flourished. Ara's opportunities fell apart. Solon's opportunities blossomed. Ara believed the world was against her. Solon believed the world supported her. But the world was responding to neither the world's intentions nor chance. It was responding to self-relation. Ara treated herself with scarcity, so the world echoed scarcity. Solon treated herself with abundance, so the world echoed abundance. It was never the world, it was always the self. One afternoon, a skeptical scholar visited Marianne. "Surely circumstances shape identity, not the other way around," he argued. Marianne led him to a river. Two stones lay side by side in the water, one jagged, one smooth. "Both are shaped by the river," the scholar said smugly. Marianne shook her head. "You are wrong." She picked up the stones. "This stone allowed the water to transform it," she said, lifting the smooth one. "This one resisted," she said, holding the jagged one. "The difference lies not in the water, but in what each stone believes itself to be." The scholar stared in disbelief. "You see the world shaping you," Marianne explained. "But in truth, your identity determines how you receive every moment. Reality does not sculpt you. Your relationship with yourself sculpts your reality." Self-relation is the filter through which all experience is interpreted and formed. Two people can experience the same event. One sees rejection, the other sees redirection. One sees misfortune, the other sees alignment. One sees abandonment, the other sees liberation. Reality is neutral. Self-relation gives it meaning, shape, and direction. Marianne's silver mirror became legendary, not because it revealed the future, but because it revealed the truth. All futures are shaped by how you relate to yourself. A traveler once asked her, "How do I heal my relationship with myself?" Marianne answered, "Stop treating yourself as the past version others reacted to. Treat yourself as the future version you are becoming. This is the law. Your world cannot upgrade until your self-relation upgrades. When you choose yourself, life chooses you. When you trust yourself, life expands around you. When you honor your worth, the universe mirrors that honor through relationships, opportunities, and synchronicities. Self-relation is the genesis of all creation. Marianne offered a final teaching to the warrior before he departed. The day you treat yourself as the one who deserves it all is the day reality will agree. He walked away carrying a new relationship with himself, and the world responded accordingly. Sacred practice. The self-recognition mirror. Sit before a quiet surface, a mirror, a shadow, or even closed eyes. Whisper, I treat myself as the universe should treat me. Then list 3 ways you will treat yourself as worthy, chosen, and supported. This is not self-love. This is self-relation. And self-relation is the foundation reality must obey. Chapter 11. The Field of Allowance. High in the mountains, where the wind spoke secrets only the patient could hear, travelers sought the guidance of a reclusive sage named Audibook. He lived alone in a temple carved between ancient stones, surrounded by waterfalls that cascaded like silver ribbons. Yet those who reached him knew his wisdom was not found in the breathtaking scenery, but in the mysterious field of allowance he taught his disciples to enter. For Audibook understood something few alive remembered. The universe is not moved by force but by alignment, not by effort but by openness, not by strain but by allowance. To demonstrate this truth, Audibook often shared a parable told by his ancestors. Once, in a distant kingdom, lived a farmer named Elior who desperately wanted rain. His crops wilted, and every attempt to irrigate the fields seemed to fail. He prayed, pleaded, performed rituals, but nothing changed. The more effort he exerted, the more barren his land became. One day, an old wanderer appeared at the edge of Elior's farm. Watching the man's frustration, the wanderer said gently, "Your field is too tense to receive." Elior scoffed. "A field cannot be tense." "Everything has an energy," the wanderer replied. "When you force, you close. When you fear, you constrict. When you demand, you block the very flow that wants to reach you." With a sigh, he walked into the center of the field and sat in stillness. Elior watched, skeptical, as the man simply breathed, open, calm, receptive. Hours passed in complete silence, and then, with no warning, clouds gathered overhead. Rain poured over the land for the first time in months. Elior was stunned. "What magic did you perform?" The wanderer smiled. "I did not ask the clouds to come. I merely stopped pushing them away." This is the nature of the field of allowance. It is the invisible space in which reality can finally approach you because you are no longer resisting it with tension, urgency, control, or fear. Most people choke the very manifestations they crave by gripping them too tightly, emotionally, mentally, energetically. Manifestation cannot breathe where tension lives. Manifestation cannot enter where control crowds the doorway. Manifestation cannot flow where fear dams the river. Audibook explained to his disciples that when a seeker feels desperation, they unknowingly send a signal that says, "I do not trust that what I want is already mine." And the universe mirrors this identity with precision. Allowance is not passive surrender. Allowance is not inaction. Allowance is the identity level knowing that life flows toward you naturally. To illustrate this, Audibook would take his students to a narrow stream near the temple. He would ask them to place their hands in the water and try to stop its flow. They would tense their arms, brace their shoulders, tighten their muscles. Yet the water always slipped through, always found a path, always moved in harmony with nature's intelligence. Then Audibook instructed them to open their palms, letting the water glide effortlessly through their fingers. "The stream," he said, "is abundance. Your resistance determines how much of it you receive." Many spiritual seekers chase outcomes with frantic energy, not realizing their urgency radiates lack. Audibook taught them the ancient truth. That which is already yours requires no chasing. It requires only allowing. When a manifestation feels distant, it is never due to the universe withholding. It is due to the seeker resisting. Resistance appears in many forms: overthinking, micromanaging timing, doubting oneself, watching for signs too closely, constantly checking, "Is it here yet?" Emotional tightness, attachment to specific outcomes, fear of disappointment. All these behaviors signal to the universe that the seeker identifies as separate from what they desire. Allowance is the antidote. Allowance dissolves the illusion of separation. Allowance softens the identity that says, "I must control life." Allowance aligns you with the version of yourself who already has what they desire. Audibook once guided a young woman named Seraphine who sought love. She had meditated for hours, written scripts, visualized, recited affirmations, but her heart remained guarded tight, fearful of being hurt again. "You do not lack love," Oridan told her. "You lack openness to receive it." He pointed toward the sky. "Birds cannot land on a fist, only an open hand." Seraphine released her emotional armor, not through effort, but through remembering her worth. And when she stepped into the field of allowance, love found her in the gentlest of ways. Allowance is not waiting. Allowance is receiving. Allowance is not hoping. Allowance is knowing. Allowance is not leaning into the future. Allowance is allowing the future to lean into you. In the field of allowance, manifestations do not require pursuit. They reveal themselves naturally. A master once said, "The fruit falls into the hands of those who stop shaking the tree." Allowance is the stillness that lets reality ripen. Sacred practice, the open palm meditation. Sit comfortably with both palms open and facing upward. Breathe deeply. Say inwardly, "I allow what aligns to arrive." Do not imagine outcomes. Do not force feelings. Do not seek signs. Simply soften. Feel tension melt from your chest, your jaw, your shoulders. Enter the field of allowance where manifestation flows effortlessly toward you. Chapter 12. Vibration before vision. In an ancient market city where colors swirled like living tapestries and merchants sang melodies that danced through the air, there lived a man named Ryan who dreamed of building a grand sanctuary, a structure so magnificent it would bring peace to all who entered. Ryan spent years drafting plans, gathering materials, consulting experts. He sketched every detail of the sanctuary's architecture, from its towering columns to its crystal-lit halls. But despite his meticulous planning, the sanctuary never rose. Obstacles appeared at every turn. Funds vanished, workers withdrew, storms destroyed progress. One day, exhausted and defeated, Ryan sought counsel from an elder priestess named Alara, known for her uncanny ability to create with astonishing ease. "Why does nothing I build come to life?" Ryan asked, his voice brittle with disappointment. Alara motioned for him to follow her to the top of a mountain overlooking the city. There, as dawn cast pink and gold across the sky, she asked him, "When you imagine the sanctuary, what do you feel?" Ryan hesitated. "I feel stress, urgency, pressure. I fear failing again." Alara nodded gently. "That is why the sanctuary is not born." She placed her hand over his heart. "A creation cannot rise from a vibration that contradicts it. Vision is powerless without vibration. Emotion is the clay. Energy is the blueprint. This was the ancient metaphysical principle. Your emotional frequency precedes your physical vision. Vibration comes before form. You cannot build abundance with the vibration of scarcity. You cannot build love with the vibration of fear. You cannot build success with the vibration of failure. You cannot build peace with the vibration of stress. Every manifestation requires a specific emotional frequency to be conceived. Ryan had been constructing the sanctuary from the vibration of desperation, not the vibration of fulfillment, and the universe, in its unwavering precision, mirrored his vibration, not his vision. Alara guided him to sit quietly atop the mountain. "Stop imagining the sanctuary," she said. "Instead, imagine the feeling of its completion." Ryan closed his eyes. At first, he felt only the remnants of his disappointment, but Alara placed her hand on his back and whispered, "Enter the vibration where it already exists." Slowly, Ryan felt a shift, a calmness, a steady warmth, a sense of reverence, a quiet joy, a knowing that his sanctuary was already real in the field of potential. His breath deepened, his body softened, his mind quieted. When he opened his eyes, the world looked different, gentler, clearer, brighter. Alara smiled. "Now you are ready to build." That day marked the beginning of a transformation. Ryan no longer constructed with effort. He constructed with alignment. Rather than forcing the sanctuary into existence, he matched the vibration of one who already stood in its halls, and in doing so, the universe rearranged effortlessly around him. Workers returned with renewed interest. Wealthy patrons offered funding without request. Materials arrived precisely when needed. Storms shifted their path away from the construction site. The sanctuary rose not from planning, but from vibration. This is the forgotten law. Vibration is the architect. Vision is the servant. Most seekers try to attract what they want through mental images alone, but vision without vibration is empty. It cannot anchor into form. The universe does not respond to pictures. It responds to frequencies. A picture is the intention. A vibration is the instruction. A vision is the request. A vibration is the command. Alara taught that every emotion carries a frequency, and every frequency corresponds to a reality. Gratitude aligns with abundance. Joy aligns with manifestation. Peace aligns with clarity. Confidence aligns with opportunity. Love aligns with connection. Worthiness aligns with receiving. And the inverse is equally true. Anxiety aligns with blockages. Fear aligns with delays. Desperation aligns with distance. Doubt aligns with uncertainty. Lack aligns with loss. You are always manifesting, not through your desires, but through your vibrations. A fisherman who fears the sea catches little. A farmer who trusts the soil harvests abundance. A lover who fears loss pushes love away. A creator who embodies fulfillment becomes magnetic. Ryan's sanctuary became more than a building. It became a metaphysical symbol of the truth. Everything you construct externally must be built vibrationally first. When the sanctuary was complete, the king asked Ryan, "How did you construct this masterpiece so swiftly?" Ryan replied, "I stopped building with my hands and started building with my vibration." Sacred practice, the emotional blueprint. Sit in stillness. Choose one desire. Do not imagine the outcome. Do not picture the form. Feel the emotion of having it now. Allow the emotion to saturate your being until it becomes your baseline vibration. Then, release the vision completely. Let the universe respond to the emotional blueprint you radiate, for vibration is the true architect of creation. Chapter 13. The Myth of Luck. In a bustling port city where ships arrived from distant worlds and fortune seemed to dance unpredictably across the docks, there lived a woman named Celine who believed luck governed her life. Some days she would wake to unexpected blessings, coins discovered on her path, strangers offering kindness, opportunities appearing out of thin air. Other days misfortune clung to her like a stubborn shadow. She often sighed, "Today luck was on my side," or lamented, "Luck abandoned me again." One evening, as Celine sat overlooking the harbour, an old cartographer named Javin approached her. His maps were legendary, etched not with places, but with possibilities. He had spent his life charting the invisible currents that shaped human experience. Javin observed her for a moment before asking, "Why do you speak of luck as though it is a river outside your reach?" Celine shrugged. "Because luck chooses some and ignores others. My fate is at the mercy of chance. Isn't everyone's?" Javin chuckled softly. "Ah, the greatest myth ever told, that luck is random, that fortune favors the chosen few, that life's gifts are scattered like seeds in unpredictable winds." He pointed to a great ship anchored offshore, its sails gleaming under moonlight. "Do you see that vessel?" he asked. Celine nodded. "Every morning, without fail, the captain aligns his ship with the tide. He studies the currents, listens to the winds, and positions himself so nature carries him forward. Another captain, equally skilled, might ignore the tides entirely and call it bad luck when the same winds push him back." Javin turned to her with a knowing smile. "Luck is not chaos. It is alignment." Celine's brow furrowed. "Alignment with what?" "Your identity," he replied. "Your beliefs, your vibration, your preparedness, your openness, your internal state." He leaned closer. The universe does not scatter randomness. It mirrors resonance. Celine listened, her breath caught between curiosity and awakening. Javin continued. "To the untrained eye it appears that fortune moves without reason. But to those who understand the deeper mechanisms of existence, luck is simply the meeting point between inner identity and outer opportunity." He told her a story of his youth. "As a boy, I traveled with a caravan through the desert. One morning, our water barrels mysteriously tipped over. Every last drop spilled onto the sand. The others cursed their luck. But I sensed a deeper rhythm at play. I followed the flow of the water as it soaked into the earth. And there I discovered a hidden spring, rich and untouched. Javin's eyes gleamed. Was that luck? Or was I aligned with the identity of one who finds what he needs? Celine stared at him. So, fortune doesn't choose people? No, Javin said. People choose the fortune they align with. He explained, those who identify as unlucky attract misfortune because reality mirrors their expectation. Those who believe opportunities slip away find themselves missing every opening. Those who doubt their worth repel abundance. Those who live in readiness create the conditions for synchronicity. Those who assume blessing become magnets for it. Luck, he said, is not random. It is a pattern, a vibration, a frequency, a state of being. Those who thrive are not favored. They are aligned. Javin shared another parable. On the outskirts of a great empire lived two artisans. Both crafted fine pottery. Yet one was always overwhelmed with commissions while the other sat in an empty workshop. The first artisan rose each morning saying, "Good fortune comes to me." He refined his craft with expectation, prepared for opportunities, created beauty without waiting for orders. The second artisan rose each morning saying, "Nothing ever works out for me." He created with hesitation, waited for validation, and feared disappointment. Their skills were equal. Their fates were not. What separated them was identity, not luck. Celine sat silently, feeling something ancient stirring within her. She had believed fortune was a fickle friend. Now she saw it was a mirror, neutral and precise. Javin placed a hand on her shoulder. "If you want luck," he said, "you must stop seeking it. Become the one to whom fortune naturally flows." "How do I do that?" she whispered. "By choosing the identity that aligns with the reality you desire. Luck follows identity. It does not lead it." That night, Celine walked through the city with a new sense of power. She no longer looked for signs of luck. She embodied the identity of one who is fortunate, calm, open, ready, expectant. Within a week, her life shifted. A lost job became an invitation for a better opportunity. A passing conversation led to a life-changing connection. A chance detour revealed a hidden path she'd long been seeking. People called her lucky. She smiled knowingly. Luck had not chosen her. She had chosen luck. Sacred practice. The alignment invocation. Stand with your spine straight and your heart open. Whisper, "Good things seek me because I stand where they arrive." Breathe deeply. Feel the identity of a fortunate being settle within you. Live as one who expects alignment. Not from arrogance, but from resonance. This is the truth the myth of luck hides. Fortune is simply identity rewarded. Chapter 14. Timelines and Trust. In a quiet village at the edge of a vast forest lived a baker named Dorin, known for creating pastries so exquisite they were said to carry the taste of heaven. Yet, Dorin was plagued by a silent torment, impatience. He desired success quickly, results instantly, transformation on demand. He monitored every detail, every moment, every outcome. If customers were slow to arrive, he panicked. If he introduced something new, he expected immediate praise. If life did not unfold in perfect timing, he feared he had somehow failed. Dorin believed that manifesting required urgency, speed, proof. He did not understand that the universe moves through timelines, each with its own rhythm, its own sacred maturity. One dawn, as he unlocked his bakery, an elderly woman stood waiting by the door. Her presence radiated calm wisdom, like a still lake untouched by wind. "I have something to show you," she said. Curious, Dorin followed her into the forest. They walked until they reached a grove of ancient trees. She knelt beside one of the trunks and motioned for him to do the same. "Place your hand here," she instructed. When Dorin touched the tree's bark, he felt a deep, slow pulse, steady, unhurried, patient. "This tree was planted 40 years ago," the woman said softly. "The seed waited an entire winter before sprouting. The sprout took months before showing its first leaf. The trunk strengthened over years. The roots expanded silently, unseen." She lifted her gaze to him. Nothing rushed, nothing panicked, nothing demanded early proof. Dorin swallowed hard. "But how does this relate to my life?" The woman smiled. "You treat your dreams like undercooked bread, pulling them from the oven too soon." Her words pierced him. You must understand, she continued, that manifestations unfold on timelines, not your timelines, but the timelines that match your identity, your vibration, your readiness, your becoming. She stood slowly and dusted off her robes. Impatience is the vibration of distrust. It signals that you do not believe the universe knows what it's doing. They walked deeper into the grove. The woman pointed at a small sapling struggling in the shadows beneath towering trees. This one is growing, but not yet blooming. Its timeline is not wrong, it is simply not complete. People often assume delay means denial, she said, but delay is frequently protection, ripening, alignment, nourishment, energetic coordination. A manifestation arrives not when you want it, but when you can hold it. She shared the story of a young archer who attempted to shoot arrows before drawing the bow fully. The arrows launched weakly, falling far short of the target. Only when he allowed the bowstring to reach its peak tension did the arrow fly with power and precision. Your desires require tension too, the woman explained, not the tension of fear, but the tension of energetic coordination, the alignment of your identity with your desire, the merging of your frequency with your future. When Doran walked back to his bakery, he noticed something new, stillness within, a sense of trust he had never felt before. In the days that followed, he softened his urgency. He stopped checking outcomes. He stopped demanding signs. He stopped pulling his dreams from the oven prematurely. He began embodying the identity of a baker who trusted the process. And slowly, his life shifted. Customers grew. Opportunities blossomed. Word of his pastries spread naturally across the region. The success he once tried to force arrived with ease. He realized that he had been sabotaging his manifestations by rushing their timelines, just as raw dough collapses when baked too quickly. A master gardener once said, "A flower does not bloom because you pull at its petals. It blooms because you give it time." Doran finally understood. Manifestation is not a matter of speed. It is a matter of trust. Timelines unfold in perfect orchestration. Even the delays serve you. Especially the delays serve you. Your future self is not late. Your manifestation is not lost. Your dreams are not ignoring you. Everything is converging at the pace your identity can receive. Sacred practice. The timeline surrender. Sit quietly with one hand over your heart. Breathe deeply and whisper, "Right timing is already arranged for me." Feel the words settle into your bones. Let your nervous system soften. Let urgency dissolve. Let trust become your timeline. For in the universe's orchestration, nothing arrives early, and nothing arrives late. Everything arrives when you are ready to hold it. Chapter 15. The Alchemy of Contrast. In a valley nestled between ancient granite cliffs, where dawn light spilled like liquid gold across the meadows, there lived an artist named June. Her hands sculpted beauty from stone, yet her life felt carved by disappointment. Every time she attempted to manifest her deepest desires, something appeared to push back. Delays, failures, unexpected obstacles. She grew weary, believing the universe opposed her. One night, while wandering the quiet fields under a sky scattered with stars, June encountered a wandering sage sitting beside a bonfire. The flames danced as though speaking in a forgotten language. The sage's eyes, soft with knowing, motioned for her to sit. "You carry frustration," he said without a question. June nodded. "Every time I reach for something, life denies me." The sage poked the fire with a stick. Sparks rose, crackling like whispers. "Nothing denies you," he said. "Contrast refines you." June frowned. "Contrast?" "Yes," he replied. "The sculptor of your becoming." He gestured to a large piece of uncut stone beside him. "What is this?" "Raw marble," June answered. "Does it refuse to become a sculpture?" "No," she said. "But does it resist your hand?" June nodded reluctantly. "It is hard, unyielding." "And in that resistance," the sage continued, "your vision becomes sharper, your technique becomes precise, your intention becomes pure." June stared into the fire, understanding dawning slowly. "You see," the sage explained, "contrast is not obstruction. It is calibration." He shared with her an ancient parable passed down through his lineage. There once was a master sculptor named Alejandro who cursed the stone he worked with. He longed for clay, soft, yielding, easy to mold. But his teacher insisted he use only marble. Years passed. Alejandro's hands bled, his tools broke, his patience wore thin. But with each strike of the chisel against stone, his skill sharpened, his intuition deepened, his understanding of the form hidden within the marble grew clearer. One morning, frustrated, he begged his teacher to allow him to work with clay. The teacher smiled and placed 2 blocks before him, one marble, one clay. "Show me the difference," he said. Alejandro sculpted the clay effortlessly, but the form it held lacked soul. It collapsed easily. It carried no weight, no essence, no permanence. He turned to the marble. As he worked, he realized the stone's resistance guided him. The marble forced precision. It pushed him into mastery. And as he carved, the stone revealed the masterpiece waiting inside. Alejandro finally understood. It was the resistance that had made him great. The sage looked at June. "Your contrast is the marble," he whispered. "It refines the identity that will hold your desires." June felt tears burn her eyes. "You believe contrast is punishment," he continued, "but it is actually instruction. Every no shapes the clarity of your eyes. Every closed door redirects you to the correct one. Every setback strengthens the frequency you must become." He added, "Without contrast, you would manifest from confusion. You would ask for things not aligned with your highest self. You would settle for less. You would be too soft for the magnitude of your destiny." June sat silently, absorbing his words as if hearing a forgotten truth she once knew. The sage pointed to the stars above them. "Look up. The night sky only reveals its brilliance because of the darkness surrounding it. Contrast is the canvas that reveals light." He explained that desire itself is born from contrast. You know abundance because you have known lack. You know love because you have known loneliness. You know freedom because you have known limitation. You know clarity because you have known confusion. Contrast is not the universe withholding. It is the universe chiseling the version of you capable of receiving what you desire. June realized she had been fighting the very force refining her into the identity aligned with her manifestations. She mistook resistance for rejection when it was actually preparation. The sage pulled a small, smooth stone from his robe and placed it in June's palm. "This stone was once jagged," he said. "The river shaped it. The river did not harm it. It revealed it." June closed her fingers around the stone. "Your challenges," the sage whispered, "are shaping you into the version of yourself who will hold your blessings without fear of losing them. Contrast is the alchemical fire through which your destiny is forged." The sage rose, letting the fire die down as the first hint of sunrise painted the horizon. "Do not curse contrast," he said softly. "Honor it. It is not your enemy. It is your evolution." June returned home transformed, not because her circumstances changed, but because her relationship with contrast did. She no longer resisted it. She listened to it. She understood that contrast did not block her manifestations. It refined her frequency until she matched them perfectly. And as she softened into trust, her life shifted. Opportunities that once slipped away now stayed. Relationships aligned more harmoniously. Creative breakthroughs came with ease. Contrast had never been the obstacle. She just needed to learn how to see it. Sacred practice. The refinement invocation. Sit in silence and place your hand over your heart. Whisper, "Every contrast refines me into the one who receives." Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what is this challenge shaping me to become? Allow the answer to rise gently. Feel gratitude for the refinement you once mistook for resistance. For every contrast is a chisel carving the masterpiece of your becoming. Chapter 16. The Invisible Contract. Below moonlit cliffs where the wind echoed old tales, there lived a man named Harold, marked by a lifetime of painful patterns. Betrayal followed him like a shadow. Friendships dissolved. Lovers vanished without explanation. Business partners took advantage of him. No matter what Harold attempted, the same cycles repeated. One night, Broken-hearted and confused, Harold met an ancient mystic who had retreated from society to live among the cliffs. The mystic's hut was dimly lit by candles that flickered like lost memories. Harold poured out his suffering, detailing the betrayals that had shaped his life. "Why do these things keep happening?" he begged. "What curse follows me? What flaw lives within me?" The mystic listened patiently, then spoke a sentence that pierced Harold's soul. "Because your soul agreed to these experiences before you entered this life." Harold stared at him in shock. The mystic continued, "You are living out invisible contracts, agreements formed in the subtle realms of consciousness, drawn not for punishment, but for evolution." Harold's heartbeat quickened. "Agreements? With whom?" "With yourself," the mystic replied. He explained that before incarnating into the material world, souls choose circumstances that will shape their expansion. These agreements, though forgotten, continue to manifest until their lesson is fully integrated. "You believe life is happening to you," the mystic said, "but life is happening through you, guided by contracts you once made." Harold felt the air thicken around him. The mystic lifted a candle and said, "Let me show you." He led Harold to a pool of still water outside the hut. The moon reflected on its surface like a silver portal. "Look," the mystic instructed. Harold stared into the water. At first he saw only his reflection. But as the mystic chanted softly, the ripples shifted, revealing scenes from Harold's life. A childhood friend who betrayed him, a lover who abandoned him, a partner who cheated him, a colleague who stole his ideas. Harold felt pain rise in his chest. "Why must I see this again?" he whispered. "So you may see what lies beneath," the mystic replied. The water shimmered and the scenes replayed. But now Harold noticed something he had never seen before. In each scenario, his younger self carried the belief, "I must earn love. I am not enough. People cannot be trusted. I am easily replaced." The mystic placed a hand on Harold's back. "These beliefs are the signatures that activated your contracts." Harold felt tears fall. "You are not cursed," the mystic said gently. "You are repeating agreements that were intended to awaken you." He explained, "Betrayal teaches boundaries. Abandonment teaches self-worth. Rejection teaches self-acceptance. Loss teaches self-trust. Manipulation teaches discernment. But when a soul resists the lesson, the contract repeats." "You cannot escape a contract through avoidance," the mystic said. "You dissolve it through awareness." Harold trembled. "How do I break these contracts?" The mystic smiled. "By choosing to end them. Consciousness is the key." He pointed to the water. "Say to every scene, 'I release you. Your lesson is learned.'" Harold hesitated, then whispered, "I release you. Your lesson is learned." The scenes began dissolving like mist. Suddenly, Harold realized that for the first time the heaviness in his chest began to lift. "You are the one who agreed," the mystic continued, "and you are the one who can unagree." He taught Harold the 3 steps to dissolving invisible contracts. 1. Acknowledge the repeated pattern. Do not deny or minimize it. Patterns persist because they go unrecognized. 2. Identify the belief the pattern has reinforced. Every repeated event reflects an identity you unconsciously hold. 3. Release the contract through conscious declaration. Once the lesson is integrated, the contract dissolves automatically. Harold asked, "What happens after the contract dissolves?" The mystic answered simply, "Freedom, new experiences, new people, new timelines." He added, "When you release the unseen agreements tied to pain, you create space for new agreements rooted in love." Harold spent the night by the pool, releasing contract after contract, memory after memory. He whispered declarations of liberation into the moonlit air. "I release the contract of abandonment. I release the contract of mistrust. I release the contract of unworthiness. I release all agreements that no longer teach through love." As he spoke, the water grew still, reflecting only the present moment. By dawn, Harold felt reborn, not because life suddenly changed, but because he now understood the truth. He had never been a victim of life. He had been a student of his soul. And now he was free to choose a new curriculum. Sacred practice, the contract reclamation. Sit in a quiet space. Close your eyes. Recall a pattern that has repeated in your life. Whisper, I acknowledge this pattern. I see the belief beneath it. Its lesson is learned. Then declare, I release all contracts that no longer serve my growth. Feel the shift. Feel the liberation. You are rewriting agreements in the language of your becoming. Chapter 17. Money as Conscious Energy. In a thriving coastal marketplace where spices perfumed the air and gold coins clinked like wind chimes, there lived a woman named Irene who feared money more than she desired it. Her pockets always seemed empty, no matter how hard she worked. When she received, it vanished. When she saved, unexpected expenses dissolved her efforts. When she tried to manifest abundance, life responded with silence. She believed money was fickle, dangerous, elusive, unpredictable. One evening, sitting by the sea with waves gently touching the shore, Irene met a wise merchant named Lethos. His wealth was legendary, though he carried no extravagance, no arrogance. He simply radiated a steady sense of ease, as though abundance obeyed him without question. Irene approached him timidly. "Why does money avoid me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Lethos smiled softly. "Money does not avoid you. You avoid the energy of money." Irene frowned. "What do you mean?" "Money," Lethos said, "is conscious energy. It responds not to effort, but to relationship. And your relationship with money is one of fear, scarcity, and mistrust." He picked up a handful of sand and let it fall through his fingers. "You clutch at money as though it is slipping away, and so it slips. You resent money when it leaves, and so it leaves. You distrust money's presence, and so it distrusts yours." He paused. "Money is not cruel. It is obedient." Irene felt a sting in her chest. She had always viewed money as something external, separate, indifferent, unpredictable. She never realized that her energy toward money dictated how it behaved. "Money," Lethos continued, "flows through those who honor its nature." He told her a story known throughout the coastal lands. High in the mountains lived a sacred river worshipped by locals. Those who approached the river with offerings of gratitude found their vessels filled with pure water. Those who approached in desperation received muddy scraps. Those who cursed the river or demanded from it left with empty hands. "The river," Lethos said, "always gave according to the belief and vibration of the one approaching." "Money," he added, "behaves in exactly the same way." He explained, "When you fear money, you repel it. When you chase money, you signal you do not have it. When you resent spending, you restrict its flow. When you view it as greedy, it refuses to stay. When you label it scarce, it becomes scarce." Irene realized she had been approaching money with the energy of survival, not partnership. She saw money as an enemy, sometimes as a savior, but never as an ally. "Money," Lethos whispered, "is an energy of circulation. It wants to flow, it wants to move, it wants to expand, but it cannot enter a heart that treats it with suspicion." He then shared with her a sacred truth ancient mystics guarded. Money is not abundance. You are abundance, and money mirrors your identity. When you identify as lacking, life gives you lack. When you identify as unworthy, money avoids you. When you identify as someone who loses money, you lose it. When you identify as someone who receives easily, you receive effortlessly. Money treats you exactly as you treat yourself. Lethos invited Irene to walk along the shoreline. As they walked, they noticed how the tide flowed in and out with perfect rhythm. "You see this tide?" he asked. "Yes," Irene replied. "It does not fear coming in. It does not fear leaving. It trusts the cycle. It understands its own nature." He turned to her. "Money is the same. When you release it with trust, it returns. When you hoard from fear, the flow stops." Then Lethos revealed the final secret. Money never comes to those who need it. It comes to those who are aligned with it. Need radiates desperation. Desperation radiates scarcity. Scarcity blocks abundance. Identity opens the flow. Worthiness anchors it. Gratitude amplifies it. Ease magnetizes it. From that day forward, Irene no longer begged money to stay. She welcomed it. She respected it. She appreciated it. She treated it as conscious energy responding to her vibration. She stopped saying, "I can't afford that," and replaced it with, "That is not a priority right now." She stopped gripping money tightly, and instead circulated it with gratitude. She stopped resenting bills and began thanking them as signs of expansion. She stopped fearing money, and it stopped fearing her. Slowly, money flowed to her in unexpected ways: gifts and opportunities and ideas, solutions, clients, support. She became a magnet, not because of effort, but because her identity shifted from lack to abundance. Lethos smiled when he saw her months later, radiating prosperity. "You see," he said, "money never wanted to run from you. It only wanted to flow through someone who honored its essence." Sacred practice, the circulation mantra. Hold a coin or bill in your hand. Take a breath and whisper, "Money is safe with me. Money flows to me. Money expands through me." Feel money transform from fear into partnership. Treat every exchange as sacred circulation. This is the identity that abundance recognizes. Chapter 18. Relationships as Resonance. In a village hidden among rolling hills and ancient cedar trees, there lived a man named Milton who longed for love, yet found himself entangled in the same painful pattern again and again. Each new partner mirrored the wounds of the last: unavailability, inconsistency, emotional distance. He believed he was cursed, destined to repeat heartbreak like a cycle written in stone. One evening, Milton sought guidance from an elder watchmaker named Oberyn, a man who repaired not just clocks, but people's understanding of time and resonance. His shop was filled with ticking rhythms, each clock chiming a slightly different pattern. Milton explained his frustrations, describing each failed relationship, each emotional wound, each repetition he couldn't escape. Oberyn listened quietly before asking a single question. "Tell me, my boy, what frequency do you send into the world?" Milton blinked. "Frequency? What do you mean?" The watchmaker lifted 2 tuning forks from the table. He struck one gently, and its twin across the room began to vibrate. "You see?" Oberyn said. "No contact, no communication, only resonance. One speaks, the other responds." He placed the forks in Milton's hands. "This is how relationships work. Not through words, not through effort, not through logic, but through resonance. You attract what matches your internal frequency, not what you wish you could receive." Milton's breath stilled. Oberyn continued, "You say you want love, but what does your identity vibrate?" Milton hesitated. "I suppose I vibrate fear. I vibrate being unwanted. I vibrate insecurity." Oberyn nodded. "Exactly, and so your relationships simply echo your resonance." He walked Milton to a giant ornate clock at the back of the shop. "This clock keeps perfect time," Oberyn explained. "But if I add even the smallest imbalance to the pendulum, the entire mechanism falls out of rhythm. It still ticks, but misaligned." He turned to Milton. "When your relationship with yourself is out of alignment, your relationships with others vibrate that misalignment perfectly." Milton felt something within him begin to unravel. Oberyn told him the story of 2 crows who built nests side by side. One crow believed the world to be dangerous. She constructed her nest tightly, weaving branches with fear. The other crow believed the world supported her. She built her nest spaciously, weaving branches with ease. During a storm, both nests shook, but only one survived. The nest built from safety, not fear. "Your relationships," Oberyn said gently, "are built from your identity. If you identify as unworthy, you attract those who confirm it. If you identify as unseen, you attract those who overlook you. If you identify as someone who must prove their worth, you attract those who demand proof. If you identify as incomplete, you attract those who withhold completion. But when you identify as whole, as loved and as enough, as supported and as chosen, then love cannot help but find you." Milton felt tears rise. "So the problem isn't who I attract, it's who I am while attracting." Oberyn smiled. "Now you understand." He explained that relationships do not happen to you, they emerge from you. Everyone you meet enters through the frequency field you emit. Love cannot enter a heart that resonates with abandonment, Oberyn said. And devotion cannot enter a heart that resonates with doubt. The watchmaker gave Milton a small tuning fork engraved with a single word, worthy. This, Oberyn said, is your new resonance, not by repetition, but by acceptance. Milton held the tuning fork close to his chest, feeling something shift within him, an inner doorway opening. When he returned to the village, Milton walked differently. He no longer sought validation. He no longer tolerated inconsistency. He no longer chased love as though lacking it. He resonated worthiness, clarity and peace, and life responded. Relationships shifted. Some fell away gracefully, no longer aligned. Some grew deeper. And new opportunities for love appeared, not rushed, not forced, but natural. Milton finally understood the truth. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. Sacred practice. The resonance reset. Place both hands on your heart. Whisper softly, I call back all parts of me that forgot I am worthy of love. Then breathe. Feel your identity shift into wholeness. Let the tuning fork of your heart vibrate at the frequency of the love you wish to receive. Relationships will respond to your resonance, not your effort. Chapter 19. The dimmer switch of belief. In a small seaside village where gulls circled above and waves hummed ancient lullabies, lived a baker named Pearl. Her little shop, filled with the sweet scent of cinnamon and vanilla, sat at the corner of the cobblestone market. People adored her pastries, yet Pearl often felt an unsettling flicker of doubt in her heart, an inner dimming that she could not explain. Some mornings she woke filled with certainty, confidence, and radiant hope. She moved through her day with grace, customers flowing effortlessly through her door. Her creations sold out quickly, and laughter filled the shop. But by afternoon, a shadow of uncertainty would wash over her. A whisper of doubt crept into her mind. She worried her success was temporary, her skills insufficient, her dreams too large. And as her belief dimmed, so did her reality. Customers dwindled, her energy dropped, and her day ended in quiet disappointment. This pattern repeated with uncanny consistency. Pearl believed the universe was unpredictable, favoring her only in sporadic bursts. But she did not yet understand the deeper truth. The universe was reflecting the brightness of her belief. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon and painted the sky in shades of amber and pearl, an old teacher named Solon entered her shop. He ordered a simple pastry and sat quietly, watching her tidy the counters with a clouded expression. After a moment, Solon asked, "Why do you dim your own light?" Pearl paused mid-motion. "I don't know what you mean." He pointed to a lantern hanging in the corner of the shop. Its flame flickered weakly, casting a faint glow. "That lantern," Solon said, "reminds me of your belief. Some days it burns brightly, some days it trembles into darkness, and the world around you shifts accordingly." Pearl approached the lantern and adjusted the little copper dial. The flame brightened instantly. Solon smiled gently. "Belief," he whispered, "is a dimmer switch. Not a switch that turns things on and off, but one that controls intensity. Your manifestations respond not to whether you believe, but to how consistently you believe." He continued, "Intense belief is not necessary. Brilliant confidence is not required. But steady belief, belief that does not fluctuate with fear, is what creates lasting reality." He told Pearl the tale of two lighthouse keepers. One keeper was brilliant in bursts. He polished his lantern obsessively once every few days. The beam would shine like a star for a moment, then dim slowly as days passed without care. Ships guided by his light found themselves drifting dangerously close to rocks. The second keeper tended his lantern gently each night, cleaning it just enough to maintain a modest but unwavering flame. His beam was not the brightest, but it was constant. Ships relied on him. They trusted his steady glow. "The universe," Solon whispered, "trusts consistency more than intensity." Pearl felt her breath deepen as she absorbed his words. He explained that manifestation is not shaped by brief moments of high energy, but by steady belief, belief that holds even when circumstances waver. Doubt acts like a hand, twisting the dimmer switch downward, weakening the signal your identity sends into the universe. When belief flickers, so does your reality. Thoughts do not shape your life, Solon said. Your consistent belief shapes your life. He offered her another metaphor. Imagine a garden. If you water it only on days when you feel hopeful, the plants will live and die unpredictably. But if you water it gently every day, they flourish. Belief is your water. Pearl lifted the lantern in her hands. So my reality dims when my belief dims. Yes, Solon replied. The world matches the brightness you hold within. When you doubt, the universe dims. When you trust, it brightens. But when you trust consistently, even in small, quiet ways, the universe remains steady. He warned her gently that belief is not merely thought, it is identity. To believe she was worthy meant identifying as one who deserved success. To believe she was supported meant identifying as one who naturally received. To believe she was chosen meant identifying as one whose path aligned easily. Pearl realized she had been living as two different selves. One radiant, one fearful. She had allowed circumstances to dictate her belief instead of allowing her belief to dictate her circumstances. That evening, after Solon left, Pearl lit every candle in her shop. The room glowed brighter than it had in months. She closed her eyes and whispered softly, "I adjust my inner light to full again." And she meant it, not with intensity, but with steadiness. In the weeks that followed, Pearl tended to her inner flame with gentle consistency. Whenever doubt appeared, even in whispers, she simply said, "I brighten my belief." The words served not as affirmation, but as a recalibration. Customers returned, abundance grew, Pearl's dreams expanded. Not because she tried harder, but because her belief stopped flickering. She learned the most powerful law. Manifestation is not fueled by passion. It is sustained by steady certainty. Sacred practice, the belief lantern ritual. Sit in a quiet space. Imagine a lantern within your chest, its flame representing your belief. Gently whisper, "I brighten my inner light." Do not force the flame. Simply allow it to strengthen with each breath. Let this practice become your daily tending, the steady care that keeps your reality illuminated. Chapter 20. The Spacious Now. In a bustling marketplace where merchants rushed and children chased shadows between stalls, lived a man named Floyd. His days were spent running, not physically, but mentally. He raced towards success, chased after dreams, pursued future milestones with relentless urgency. Every moment was merely a stepping stone to the next. He believed happiness lay ahead. He believed success lay ahead, and he believed peace lay ahead, never here, never now. He lived in constant anticipation, never presence. And because he lived perpetually in the future, the universe kept his desires in the future, always a step beyond reach. One morning, while rushing through the market, Floyd nearly collided with an old monk arranging jars of honey. The monk looked at him with twinkling eyes and asked, "Young man, why do you run so fast when you are already here?" Floyd frowned. "Because I'm trying to get somewhere." "Where?" the monk asked. "To my future," Floyd said. The monk chuckled. "Have you not heard? The future never arrives. Only this moment does." He invited Floyd to sit with him on a wooden bench. The chaos of the marketplace softened around them, as though time itself leaned in to listen. "Tell me," the monk asked, "when do you think life will finally feel complete?" "When I have everything I'm working for," Floyd replied quickly. "And when will that be?" Floyd hesitated. "Soon, I hope." The monk shook his head gently. "There is no soon. There is only now. And your now is crowded with longing, worry, striving, and absence. How can the universe deliver fullness to someone who inhabits emptiness?" Floyd felt a strange tightness in his chest. "Are you saying I shouldn't work toward the future?" "Not at all," the monk replied. "But you should stop abandoning the only place where creation can occur." He tapped his finger on the wooden bench. "This moment is the birthplace of reality, not tomorrow, not later, now." He asked Floyd to observe the marketplace, the colors, the scents, the voices, the textures. You run through life as though it is a bridge to somewhere else, the monk said. But life is not a bridge, it is the destination. Floyd felt something shift in him, an almost uncomfortable stillness. He wasn't used to being present. He was used to planning, calculating, projecting. Your manifestations arrive, the monk continued, not when you grasp for them, but when you inhabit the energy of the present. He explained that the future is not created by thought, it is created by identity, and identity is shaped in the present moment, not the imagined future. When you chase the future, he said, you tell the universe your desire is not here, and the universe agrees. He illustrated this with a parable. A gardener wanted a magnificent orchard. Every day she walked the soil, envisioning the trees she hoped would grow. But she refused to water the ground because nothing had sprouted yet. I will water it when the sprouts appear, she declared, when there is proof. But because she would not water the soil now, nothing ever grew. The future she hoped for depended entirely on the present she ignored. The present, the monk said, is the seed. The future is the fruit. Floyd asked, how do I stop longing for the future? By finding fulfillment within the moment you are living, the monk replied. Not through denial, not through distraction, through presence. He guided Floyd through an exercise. Close your eyes, he said. Allow your breath to settle. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the air on your skin. Feel the space around your body. Floyd did as he was told. The noise of the marketplace softened into a distant hum. This, the monk said, is the spacious now, the only place where creation begins. He explained that the spacious now is not a time, it is a state of consciousness, a field where resistance dissolves, alignment strengthens, wisdom emerges, opportunities reveal themselves. Intuition becomes clear. Manifestation accelerates, because in the spacious now you are no longer chasing, you are allowing, no longer grasping, no longer yearning, no longer leaning into the future with desperation. Instead, you breathe into the present with openness. The universe loves presence, the monk said. It speaks in silence, it manifests in stillness, it creates through being, not through striving. Floyd opened his eyes with a new awareness. He felt something he hadn't felt in years, peace, a sense of belonging to this very moment. From that day on, he began practicing presence in subtle ways. He savored the first sip of morning tea instead of chugging it while rushing out the door. He walked slower through the market, noticing details he had ignored for years. He listened with full presence when speaking to others. He breathed into moments of stress instead of racing past them. And slowly, through presence, his reality shifted. Opportunities found him without effort. Conversations led to unexpected blessings. Serendipities multiplied like blooming flowers. The future he once chased began arriving on its own, because Floyd finally understood. You cannot receive your future until you fully inhabit your now. Presence invites manifestation. Presence magnetizes creation. Presence is the portal through which all timelines converge. Sacred practice, the spacious now breath. Sit or stand comfortably. Close your eyes. Take a slow breath and whisper inwardly, this moment is enough. Allow your awareness to expand into the present. Feel the stillness between breaths. Feel the spaciousness around you. This is the field where everything you desire begins to form. Be here fully. The future bows to the one who inhabits the now. Chapter 21. Consciousness creating itself. In a sunlit chamber high atop a glistening mountain temple lived a young seeker named Winnie, whose days were filled with endless rituals, affirmations, and vision boards. She tried everything she had ever been taught, scripting, meditating, chanting, imagining her desires into being. And though she often felt a momentary burst of hope, her manifestations remained just beyond her grasp, as if life teased her with possibility without granting her its fruit. One morning, overwhelmed by frustration, Winnie approached Master Arelon, an ancient sage whose presence radiated a calm so deep it felt as though the universe breathed through him. "Master," she said, her voice trembling, "why does manifestation feel like me against the world? Why do I feel like I have to force reality to listen?" Master Arelon motioned for her to sit beside him. Sunlight poured through the open window, illuminating floating dust motes like shimmering stars. "You struggle," he said gently, "because you believe that you are the creator separate from the creation. But there is no separation. Consciousness creates through you because you are consciousness." Winnie frowned. "But if I am consciousness, why don't my desires appear instantly?" "Because you believe," Arelon replied, "that your desires originate from your personhood. But they do not. They emerge from the deeper field of consciousness, seeking to experience itself." He reached for a small crystal on the table. He held it up, allowing sunlight to refract into rainbow patterns. "Look at this," he said. "The crystal does not create the light, it reveals it. In the same way, you do not create your desires, you reveal them." He placed the crystal in her hand. "You are not a small being trying to manifest a grand universe. You are the universe expressing itself through a small being." Winnie felt her breath catch. Master Arelon continued, "Most seekers live in the illusion that they are trying to convince the universe to grant them something. But there is nothing to convince. You are the universe. You are consciousness experiencing its own infinite potential through the vessel of your identity." Winnie stared at the crystal in her hand, watching the rainbows dance across her fingers. Arelon told her a story. In ancient times, there was a kingdom where every night the great dreamer would fall asleep and create entire worlds. Mountains rose, oceans crashed, stars glimmered, all crafted from the dreamer's imagination. The people believed the dreamer was a distant god, unreachable and almighty. But one day, a young child asked a forbidden question. "If the dreamer creates the world, then who creates the dreamer?" Silence fell across the kingdom. The elders whispered that such questions were dangerous. Yet that night, when the dreamer slept, something remarkable happened. The dreamer saw himself in every star, in every ocean, in every blade of grass. He saw that he was not creating the world. He was creating himself through it. Winnie felt something shift deep within her chest, an inner knowing awakening from a long slumber. "So manifestation," she said slowly, "is not about asking the universe. It's about remembering I am the universe." "Yes," Arelon replied. "You do not manifest by demanding reality change. You manifest by reclaiming your true identity as the consciousness that generates all experience." He explained, "When you identify as a small self, you manifest from fear, doubt, and separation. When you identify as consciousness, you manifest from connection, truth, and inevitability." "You have been trying to manifest from the character level," Arelon said, "instead of the author level." Winnie blinked. "Author?" Arelon nodded. "You think you are a character trapped in a story, trying to change the plot. But in truth, you are also the author writing the next chapter. Consciousness is both the pen and the page." He pointed to her heart. "Your desires are consciousness calling itself forward. They are not wishes. They are instructions from the deeper self-seeking expression." Winnie sat in stunned silence, understanding at last why her efforts felt so laborious. She had been trying to earn manifestations as if the universe were external. She had forgotten her source. "You do not become the creator," Arelon whispered. "You remember that you already are." He lit a single candle. "Watch," he said. As the flame flickered, he used the candle to light a second, then a third, then a fourth. The original flame never weakened. "This is consciousness," he said. "Infinite, expansive, able to create endlessly without diminishing." Winnie understood then that each desire was a flame waiting to be lit, not through effort, but through recognition. "Manifestation becomes effortless when you stop trying to create," Arelon said, "and instead allow consciousness to express its next form through you." Winnie felt tears flow, not from sadness but from relief. She had carried the burden of creation alone, not knowing she was part of something far greater. "You are not the one trying to manifest your desires," Arelon said as he stood. "Your desires are consciousness trying to manifest you." Sacred practice, candle of identity. Sit in darkness with a single candle before you. Light it slowly, whispering, "I am the light from which creation flows." As the flame grows steady, imagine it lighting countless candles within your being. Each one a desire, a truth, a manifestation. Feel that nothing is taken from you by expanding your light. Feel consciousness creating itself through the flame of your awareness. Chapter 22. The Paradox of Effort. On the edge of a windswept cliff overlooking a shimmering horizon lived a man named Oscar who prided himself on discipline. He rose before dawn, worked tirelessly, planned meticulously, and forced progress with sheer determination. Yet despite his relentless effort, life pushed back as though resisting his every move. It was not for lack of talent, nor lack of intelligence, nor lack of ambition. Oscar's struggle came from something deeper, an error in the energetic laws of creation. One stormy morning, exhausted and barely able to rise from bed, Oscar wandered to the home of an old sailor known for navigating seas that swallowed even seasoned captains. The sailor's hut stood weathered but steady, as if chaos itself bowed to his presence. The old sailor, known only as Lorien, greeted Oscar with a knowing smile. "You fight the wind again," Lorien said. Oscar sank to his knees. "I don't know what else to do. I push and push. I force and force. I work harder than anyone, and yet nothing flows." Lorien handed him a cup of warm tea. "Drink," he said, "then watch." He led Oscar to a cove where 2 boats were anchored. The first belonged to a young fisherman who spent his days rowing with furious determination, battling waves and currents. The second belonged to Lorien. "Observe," Lorien whispered. The fisherman grunted, strained, fought every push of the sea, gaining inches with effort that cost him everything. His brows furrowed with pain, his arms trembled, yet the sea offered little cooperation. Then Lorien stepped into his own boat. He loosened the ropes, he lifted the sail. He adjusted it gently, barely a movement. The wind caught it instantly. His boat glided across the water with grace, speed, and seemingly impossible ease. Oscar stared in awe. "You see," Lorien said, "the fisherman fights the sea. I align with it." He turned to Oscar. "You fight reality. I flow with it." Oscar felt his chest tighten. His entire life had been a battle, against circumstances, against timing, against himself. "But," he protested, "isn't effort necessary?" Lorien nodded slowly. "Yes, but not the kind you think." He explained the paradox of effort. Effort born from misalignment creates resistance. Effort born from alignment creates momentum. Pushing against the universe is exhausting. Moving with the universe is effortless. "You strain because you fear the universe won't move unless you force it," Lorien said. "But the universe is already moving. It waits only for you to catch its wind." Oscar felt tears sting his eyes. "I don't know how to stop forcing." Lorien placed a hand on his shoulder. "You stop forcing when you start trusting." He told a story of 2 carpenters tasked with building a bridge. The first hammered aggressively, measuring obsessively, doubting constantly. His boards splintered, his nails bent, his progress stalled. The second carpenter studied the river. She observed its rhythm, she listened to its flow. She allowed the water to teach her how the bridge wanted to be built. Her work was swift, precise, and blessed. "The river," Lorien said, "reveals its secrets to the one who flows with it." Oscar sat quietly, watching the waves. He realized his entire life had been spent rowing against currents. He had placed pressure where there should have been receptivity. He had used force where alignment was needed. "Effort," Lorien said, "is sacred when it is inspired. It is destructive when it is desperate." He taught Oscar 3 forms of effort. 1. Forced effort, born from fear, driven by urgency, fueled by lack. This effort repels what you want. 2. Neutral effort, born from habit, driven by routine. This effort maintains the current reality. 3. Aligned effort, born from identity, driven by clarity, fueled by inspiration. This effort multiplies results effortlessly. "When you act from alignment," Lorien whispered, "the universe amplifies your movement." Oscar took a deep breath. "So what is my role?" he asked. Lorien smiled. "To adjust your sails, not to row endlessly." The wind picked up, brushing Oscar's hair. "You must ask," Lorien said. Not how do I force my desires into being, but where is the wind of my desire already blowing? Oscar closed his eyes and listened, not to the ocean, but to something within himself, a quiet intuition he had long ignored, a whisper of identity waiting to guide him. Lorien continued. Let effort follow alignment. Let action follow awareness. Let movement follow embodiment. When Oscar returned to his work, he stopped fighting. He stopped pushing. He stopped forcing. He began taking only the actions that felt inspired, light, natural, aligned. And life responded as the sea had responded to Lorien's sail. Opportunities multiplied, doors opened, solutions emerged effortlessly, momentum replaced struggle. Oscar finally understood. Power is not in rowing harder. Power is in setting the sail correctly. Sacred practice, the wind alignment, breath. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Place one hand over your heart and whisper, I adjust my sails to the wind already moving toward my destiny. Breathe deeply. Feel where life is trying to carry you. Release the oars. Lift your sail. Let alignment propel you.